Greetings from Goshen, Indiana. It's good to be with you via video. Wanted to share some of the experiences of this last trip in person, as it were, simply because the experience itself was so rich that a newsletter really doesn't sum it up for me. We often talk about our work as a laboratory of love when we give seminars, and to me this really is an unfolding love story of God's love with His people and our love with one another. So my hope is that we can share in this experience together in this way, and you have through your prayers and your love and support, and my hope here is that that can go deeper for you and that we can grow in this journey together. So. My plans changed rather abruptly just before leaving. I had to leave 2 days earlier than anticipated, which actually opened a window of opportunity to meet with a smaller select group of our leadership coaching team. And we focused that time on the youth ministry that we have in fact been doing throughout our seminar tours, but often gets kind of short thrift given that we just don't have enough time to really do a deeper review and processing and listening for that particular ministry. So this was really a tremendous gift, and MPH graciously allowed us to use their small conference room. Leonard and Antoinette, Putu, Kakenda, Andre Kalenga, and Robert were all there as team members, and then we were blessed to have Don and Naomi Unruh, who have had a long history in Congo, are retired missionaries now, but really part of a significant movement of the Spirit back in the 70s and 80s, and have come back at least for one more time, maybe yet there's another one, but we'll take this one, and it sure was a blessing to have them with us. So we met to pray and just hear God, what we felt the Spirit was saying for this ministry, and reviewed some of the materials we put together, introduced some new materials, wanting to shape the curriculum around soccer as something of a metaphor for life, for the Christian walk. And so that was just a very rich time for us to process what we call soccer clinic ministry. That road to Kikwit is deteriorating very quickly. It's a very dangerous road. Very thankful for safety as we traveled. And then the next day we made it to Mukedi, or I should say almost made it. We actually fell just as we were driving onto the old mission station. Leonard's vehicle slid into a ditch. Actually could have been much worse. We didn't see it. It was so covered by grass, but it's actually about a 6 foot deep and a good 8 foot wide hole right next to the road, and to miss another item in the road, we put a tire in there. So we had the job of trying to get that out. It took us 20-30 minutes, along with a hand winch, and using the other vehicle managed to pull Leonard's vehicle out. So very grateful that they didn't all go down into that hole. That would have greatly changed our plans for the day. When we arrived there in Mukedi, these are powerfully emotional experiences of reconnecting with local leaders and loved ones that we've gotten to know over past visits, as well as other team members that came from other directions, in this case Chicapa. And so just very tearful events for all of us, I think, and very joyous too, as we reunite. And what we are about is so much more than just delivering a message. It's about sharing life together. And so when we do get together, it's always rich. One of the things that I did bring on this trip was photos, put together these albums, kind of a photo album of our previous visit. This is the first time we're kind of making the second round to these locations where we hold seminars. So I brought these photo albums, and as a way to give back to the community, for them to see some of the pictures that I've taken. I don't make a big thing of that, but we do in the end, at the end of each seminar, take pictures of everyone. So I included those as well, and then they each got a personal copy. So that was a new piece to our experience. And then later that afternoon, we met with the youth, and it wasn't just the Mukedi youth. You may have heard that we had a delegation of young leaders and youth sponsors from Kandal, 55 miles away by way of paths. Kind of as the crow flies, if you'd take a vehicle, you'd go 155 kilometers, but it's not quite that far if you walk it. Anyway, this is a long story, and I've kind of summarized the story in my newsletter so you can read how that came about. And Colette Ram being instrumental in a very wild, I think, spirit-led idea of having them, Kandala kids, actually come and join us in Mukedi. So they did arrive the very afternoon that we arrived. They had just come off a 55-mile walk, but they were excited, and they brought a lot of energy to our youth rallies and even to the seminar, because they were part of that as well. So we had a youth rally in the afternoon that went into the evening, and one of the things we did, knowing that we were going to have two youth groups joining together, I brought these wristbands made out of really their paper, kind of a waxy paper that once you connect them, they don't break off easy. You can take a shower with them, whatever, get them wet. And so that was kind of for us a symbol of we are now one, we are now us, and no longer two but one. And these wristbands really became popular and kind of the enviable device to have. And so it's kind of fun to be able to share those more widely. Of course, all the cooks that cooked for our seminar had to have them, and we were glad to share them as part of sharing the love and the unity that we had. Our Congo leadership coaching team even got in on the choir act. We have this song that we sing from time to time titled "We Have a God of Miracles." And we sing that in 8 different languages that represent just the different languages of the persons on our team. So that was fun and part of being to be a part of the choir exhibition that typically goes with these grand celebrations. That afternoon we got underway with the seminar. Leonard started the seminar out by sharing a parable, pretty powerful and pretty funny, about a rich man who has a party and goes home somewhat drunk, proceeds to undress and get in the shower, not realizing that he still has his hat on. And so he's taking the shower, but he's not getting wet, and he determines it must be evil spirits that are blocking up the shower from the water reaching him. And so he runs out of the shower, goes outside, only to expose himself. And the friends and family, all embarrassed, proceed to tell him that he's got his hat on. And if I understood it right, he was basically saying that's you or me if we aren't willing to lay down our pride and expose our hearts to what the Holy Spirit has for us. That we can think the problem is somewhere else when in fact it's our own hearts. And so invited us to really open up and receive the blessing, the shower of God's Spirit that He had for us. So great opening story or parable. And then we got into the content of the second seminar, which is developing transformational teams. That evening we had a soirée de film. This is Sunday evening on the 8th, I believe it is, of April. And we showed a series of movies. One was just on a previous soccer clinic we had done in Nyanga in 2016. And then a movie about soccer, actually a kind of dramatic movie on called Better Than Soccer, story of a great soccer player who gets injured and realizes that there's more to life than just winning soccer games. And then finally we concluded the evening with a couple of videos by Nick Vujicic, who has no hands, no arms, no legs. So of course he wouldn't have arms or hands. And so that was very moving. People, for all their struggles, realize, wow, I've got arms, I've got legs. And yet here's this guy just full of joy, full of life, and just a piercing message of calling us to live for things that really matter and not putting our focus on things that don't. So it was a life-changing experience, I think, for many, and in fact for me as well. The next day, Monday, April 9th, we developed the theme as we went into the second seminar, how to lead from a team rather than just lead as a individual leader. So much of leadership is built around kind of a command and control model where one gets a position and then they hold it, and they might even use others to help ensure their power, their status. But we go back to the garden, even before the garden really, to the beginning, if you will, as God, the Trinity, together out of love for one another, they create and they give leadership to creation. And that is a kind of reset of our whole paradigm, from God as just kind of the ultra strongman leader to God as a team of love that seeks to multiply and expand that love to others and invite others into it. So Jesus, of course, incarnates that kind of God as leadership team model. And really from the inception of Jesus' ministry, he was always inviting others in, including others, empowering them, and multiplying ministry really at every turn. So that was stuff we talked about, and then following a lunch break, we went back into a soccer clinic with the youth around 4 o'clock, had another teaching that ended in an altar call that many responded to. Very powerful time of just people opening their hearts to God. And we finished out the day with that. So Tuesday came along, the 9th or the 10th. We had again a lot more teaching. This time we really focused on the gifts and leading and learning from giftedness as opposed to simply personal charisma or personal personality. We don't talk so much about the manifestation gifts of the Spirit, but the motivational gifts that God instills in every individual and is for the service and contribution to the whole. Had a great day, very rich interaction around that topic of leading through our gifts. And then the big event of the day, so to speak, at least for the kids, was the tournament matches between the Kandala gang and the Mukedi gang. And I could spend the next 30 minutes trying to convey the energy, the excitement, the intensity of those games. I mean, we're talking teams dressing up in war paint and really ready to rumble. So I've covered some of that in the newsletter. And it's just something to keep in mind is that the Kandala teams had just come off a 55-mile hike on foot, and yet they had a lot of energy to bring to the table. And so the girls went at it in a shorter game, ended in a tie, so they had to break that tie with penalty kicks. And well, here's a video that just kind of captures the moment. We do these soccer clinics for a number of reasons. One is it really communicates something to the adults that attend the seminar, that we're not just about adult things, but it's very important to value the kids and to get involved in what they are about, and that we can in fact see that as a moment to disciple the next generation. So we invite the adults to attend the soccer games, even the soccer practices that we do. And we're always sharing principles, we're sharing the gospel with the youth directly, so that's another piece of it. And I think another benefit is just in the midst of the many challenges that life has in Congo, this is a chance for these youth to have fun, to be part of something where their lives really matter, and they get cheered on, and we're there to watch them, and we're willing to go to great lengths to make this happen for them. So those are some of the reasons that we do this and feel like it's fruitful. We're really raising up the next generation of leaders, believers, and witnesses for Christ. Wednesday the 11th, we wrapped up the seminar in the morning, took photographs, group and individual photographs again, and then headed out on our way to Kikwit, while the Kandala gang started their 55-mile journey back to Kandal. We actually, once we got to Kikwit, we stayed at a guest house. We had arranged this with the entrepreneur, businessman, Mr. McCare, who provided the vehicle for us to use. He has a guest house there in Kikwit, so we could all stay together. It's really a nice place. And we actually packed it out. There were those of us sleeping on the floor in the living room or on the couches, and all the beds were full. And he gave us a reasonable price. This has allowed us to debrief at the end of every day and pray together. So other times we've been dispersed in homes. That makes it very difficult for us to really connect before and after the seminars. But this was a huge blessing. Very thankful for Macare's generosity. The next morning we got underway with the seminar in Kikwit. It was a smaller group. I felt very impressed that we were to use this opportunity to give the leadership to some of the others on the team to try their hand at teaching the material now that they have followed it once. And unknown to me, we were being summoned by the local police. Somehow they knew we were in town. It's a big town. But somehow they got wind of our presence, so we were to make a visit to the immigration office. So we turned the teaching directly over to the others and made our way to the immigration office. We spent 3 hours there, the Unruhs, myself, Leonard, kind of serving as an advocate for us, and went through quite an ordeal there. But in the middle of it, God really spoke to my heart that He was using it for good. The 3 hours that we were away, others on the team were taking the lead and teaching, and we finally got back. There were 4 of them that had done various teachings or had been involved with the teaching. So Leonard and I just really deferred to the team throughout most of the rest of the seminar. We stepped in at points and did teach, but often we were letting others take that leadership. There's a lot I could say about our Kikwit experience. One story comes to mind, just a short one. In the midst of our teaching, all of a sudden a large group of people walked in from the back of the sanctuary, and I thought, wow, somehow word has gotten out, and this group's going to grow after all, since it was only about 80 people. And come to find out, it was all refugees, Kasai refugees, that were in town. They were looking for some kind of support, food, clothing, whatever. And so we actually stopped the seminar, talked briefly with them, prayed with them, and I actually went outside with them and asked if I could take their picture, explaining that I had many friends back in the U.S. that were praying for them and also contributing to help carry their load. And they were more than glad to have that happen. So there's the picture. Wonderful people, beautiful people, but obviously uprooted in a huge way. So we sent them down to the depot. There's a MCC depot. I didn't know where that was in town, but we helped make a way for some of them who were handicapped to get down there. And that was a surprise encounter, but it wasn't the only one, actually. There was a few other times when smaller groups showed up at the church during our seminar. We also had a soccer clinic in Kikwit. We actually tried to do this back in 2016, and it didn't work. There wasn't enough leadership on the ground there. But through Andre Kalenga's efforts, we did get a small group to start with, and that grew every day, so that by the end we had some 50 kids coming together, and then of course we had the big tournament. There in Kikwit, we followed the tournament with handing out of Bibles, and this was something that we have never done before, but we're able to do on account of Don and Naomi Unruh having received a gift of money from the Central Plains District or Conference. And here in the U.S., they turned that money into Bibles for youth. So both in Mukedi and in Kikwit, we were able to hand out quite a few Bibles to young leaders and youth. Bibles are very rare in Congo now, and when they do show up, they're very expensive. Most people cannot afford them. So these whole Bibles, compact Bibles, were just gold. and a real treasure, and I'm sure will have a tremendous impact on many lives over the next years. On Sunday, April 15th, a carload of us headed back to Kinshasa. There's 9 of us in this SUV. We had problems already just leaving Kikwit, mechanical problems, and we're able to hobble our way all the way to Kinshasa. By the time we got to the airport in Kinshasa, 4 cylinders had blown, so we only had 2 left, and managed somehow to get all the way across town to MPH. But when we drove in, the car stopped and never ran again. So, you know, another sign of God's precious care for us, and that by making it there that day, I was able to leave the following day to head on to the U.S. I want to end this time with a song and video of images of the leaders that we walked with. Enjoy this, and thanks again for your interest, your prayers, your support. It's having, I believe, an eternal impact, and is really shaping the next generation of leaders in Congo.
Oh Yahweh, yakakati ya bomoi nanga, molili eluti mingi ngana kukoka te okolo yonde winda ya bomoi nanga, soki otiki ngai bomoi nanga nyonso esili.
Nafukami liboso na yo, motema nanga nasopi, elikya nyonso epa na yo, yokolo nabikama ye papa memanga.
Yahweh, yakakati ya bomoi nanga, molili eluti mingi ngana kokoka te okolo
yabikamwa
yonde winda ya bomoi nanga, soki otiki ngai bomoi nanga nyonso esili.
Makomi elobi yo moyengelaka na tongo, nafungoli bikuke ya motema nanga, kota pengengisa bomoi nanga.
Oh Yahweh,
yonde olobaki
yakakati ya bomoi nanga, molili
elisa mwila
eluti mingi ngana kokoka te okolo
yabikamwa
yonde winda ya bomoi nanga, soki otiki ngai bomoi nanga nyonso esili.
Yabikamwa
winda ya bomoi nanga, soki otiki ngai bomoi nanga nyonso esili. Oh Yahweh
nanga,
yakakati ya bomoi nanga, molili eluti mingi ngana kokoka te.
Oh Yahweh, yakakati ya bomoi nanga, oh lili eluti mingi ngana kokoka te okolo nanga, yonde winda ya bomoi nanga, soki otiki ngai bomoi nanga nyonso esili.
Oh Yahweh, yakakati tira bomoi nanga
Lili eluti mingi ngara kokokate